Are you tired of being tired, even when you're eating healthy? It's not you, it's your approach. Up to 70% of women report fatigue as their number one health complaint in the summertime, even when they're trying to eat clean. So, this is not about dieting. This is about fueling your life with food that satisfies and sustains you and helps you live a life full of vitality. And we're going to be talking about that right after this. Welcome, everybody. This is Life Enthusiast Health Shots, restoring vitality to you and the planet. I'm your host, Scott Patton. Joining us, as usual, is Martin Patella, health coach at Life Enthusiast. Hey, Martin, how are you doing today?
It's a fine life, I'm doing so much better than I used to.
Yeah, not being in a wheelchair and having your body fall apart is
Yeah,
pretty nice, right?
yeah. I think the alternatives were awful. As you were speaking on the intro, feeling tired, and I'm thinking, I understand that. This is like the our cells have a mitochondria inside of them, and the mitochondrium is a tiny little organelle, the heart cell. Each cell of the muscle in your heart has 10,000 of these little critters in it. And inside that thing, the citric acid cycle is taking place where food, mainly in the form of glucose, is arriving. Oxygen is supposed to be present, and oxygen plus glucose with a few inputs is turning into ATP, which is the human energy. And I'm thinking this is a whole lot like a car's engine. You have
Right.
you have fuel, gasoline or diesel coming in, you have oxygen coming in, and you have a spark. And if you have a spark, it will fire off the mixture, will ignite, it will hit the piston, and you have life, right? And
Right.
so when you have people who are reporting tired, they will have to have one of the three problems: fuel, oxygen, spark.
Right.
Now,
However, what we do is we drink stuff, we eat stuff, we breathe stuff. We're in an environment, so we're working with the macros of that. And because we listen to advertising on TV and all that sort of good stuff, and we're tempted by beautiful cakes and donuts and Krispy Kreme or the grocery store, we're not putting the right inputs in.
yeah, that's one of the problems, right? Like there's some stuff around this, which was we have the air filter to filter the air. We can have a turbocharger to compress the air and have more of it. We could have a fuel filter that's supposed to be delivering only clean fuel. Well, those are the same concept really is in the human body, right? Like
Yep.
we digest the ingested stuff. So let's just start with a bowl of rice with some butter on top and a pinch of salt. Simple as can be, right? That carbohydrate, with the help of amylase, being the enzyme, will be taken apart and converted into pure glucose. That glucose is going to hit your bloodstream, spike glucose, followed by insulin.
Crash.
No, well, insulin comes in, right? Typically, what happens is when you ingest something carby, it raises the blood glucose, which means more energy available right now. But then the second wave, the insulin comes in to try and modulate, and so it usually overshoots, right? So
Right.
you go too much, too little, too much, too little, too much, too little, and you're swinging, right? And especially if you're one of the people with highly efficient food to energy conversion, you burn through the spike really fast, and then you crash.
and then you crash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
And
all
you're
right.
one,
Well, look,
and you're one of them.
I am actually, because about 3 hours ago, I made myself some bacon and an omelet, and then
Yeah.
I decided to I put some onion in there, and I cooked some tomato in there, and I put some cheese on it. And I think I was doing really good at that point. But then I went, you know what? I have this really heavy bread that I just bought. I'm going to make a couple pieces of toast and make it into a fried egg sandwich, which I love. And then an hour ago, I had a meeting that I was late for because I was laying on the couch, sound asleep. I had the music playing, which I thought would kind of keep me half awake, and it was. I checked 15 minutes before my meeting, and then the next thing I know, I'm 5 minutes late.
Yeah. There goes. There goes. Okay, so you started by with the opening of people are doing the right thing and yet they're feeling tired. Well, so they may
I
be
don't know if I
doing.
said the right thing. They are doing what they think is right.
Yeah, there goes. Um, and so the biological individuality kicks in. If you are a person who over alkalizes with carbs, you will be asleep, just like Scott did. If you over alkalize with fats, you'll be asleep for the completely opposite reason.
Right. Which is one of the reasons why some people love the banana diet and some people love the pineapple diet, and some people hate the banana diet. Some people hate the pineapple diet because it's their individuality comes into
Mhm.
play.
Yeah, and to make the extremes really stand out is we have vegetarians and we have uh,
Carnivores.
carnivores, and they profess their complete commitment to their style because it works. Once you find what works, you want to stick with it.
Right.
For most people, it's very confusing because the society out there is not mm, giving them a chance to find out what works. And here we are. We're proposing an experiment.
Right.
Narrow it down. Make a carb push and make a fat push and observe how it affects you. One will make you more agitated, the other will make you more sedated. To sedate is to put to sleep. To agitate, make you anxious, angry, impatient, and pissy.
So what you do is you get out your watch and you get a piece of paper and you write down the time, and then you go and have a slice of bread or a croissant, and then you set your alarm for 3 hours, and 3 hours later,
There's a 1 hour later.
are you asleep? Have you had a nice nap, or have you been running up the wall and yelling at everybody that's around you?
Yeah, there we go.
And that'll kind of tell you the story.
Hmm.
And then you have a fried egg, fried in coconut oil and nothing else. And then, same thing, write down the time, and then, okay, an hour later, have it beep, beep, beep. Are you really agitated, or are you really asleep? And agitated is the extreme. You could be really active, right? Like, there's times when I eat the right thing, and I wish I would write it down, where it's like, wow, I'm super productive, and I went for a run, and I did
Hmm.
all these things that I want to do, and I just had a great day. I feel really good. And then the next day, it's like, because instead of having that egg in the morning, I had pancakes, right?
Right there. And there was some egg in that pancake, but it got overpowered by the flour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overpowered by the flour. There you go.
Yeah. Speaking in rhyme and pentametric, whatever the heck that stuff is called.
Right.
Something,
So,
pentameter.
so there are foods that help. And
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
let's talk a little bit about, regardless of which way you are, there are some things, like, it's interesting. You talk about you and your wife, when you have dinner, you have actually separate dinners, right? And
Yeah, we
but there are
share.
some commonalities.
Yeah, we share dinners. She has more meat and fat than I do because I'm the one who gets calmer and more pleasant with carbs. I already start as a pissy person. And so I need to calm me down, and starches are calming to me. Whereas she is naturally a pissy person, but fats are calming to her.
Right.
So if we don't do the right thing, we end up really hating on each other.
Right.
We,
But
we
you have
haven't done
some
that
food
in a
in
long time.
common, right? Like
Oh yeah, yeah.
your
Okay, so we
your
start with a salad that's in the
right,
middle, and I have a small piece of meat and a bowl of rice, and she has probably no rice and a big piece of meat and a whole lot more fat. Yep.
yeah. And that's, this is part of life where you have, because we're usually in family groups, right? We don't usually be alone. We're not like that alone. You've got kids and everything else. So you have to watch your kids, see how they act,
Yeah.
and then see how you can manipulate the meals so that it works
Yeah.
out well for everybody.
Yeah. There's the classic, right? The turkey dinner. So there's the turkey, there's the stuffing, there's the, I don't know, cooked carrots and
Mashed potatoes,
oh yeah, there we go.
Brussels sprouts.
Yeah. Okay. That's the classic American, right? And so I will load up on the veggies. Like I'll have the carrots and I'll have the sprouts and I will have a piece of meat and a little bit of gravy. But my plate is heavy in the vegetarian side
Right.
because if I eat just the plain meat with my biology, that takes me straight into arguments. I'll start defending something that should not be defended to a person
Right.
who should not be even whatever, I'll just go political. I'll create a debate where none was needed.
Right.
Yeah. Ah, you know, I just wanted to mention I just finished a consultation, a call came to me by a referral, and this lady says, well, I'm 63 years old. I have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia when I was 33, 30 years ago. And there was a run up to that. I was slowly getting worse. And at some point, finally, this doctor said, here's a list. Read this. Is that you? And she said, yeah, that's me. And so she started telling me how it went. Right. And she says, well, I'm in a lot of pain all the time. I sleep, but I wake up unrested. I'm a restless sleeper. Yeah, I am asleep, but I don't wake up rested. And I suffer with anxiety. I'm a nervy person. I am easily pushed into just fretting about everything. And I have brain fog. And I started gaining weight. I'm probably 40, maybe 50 pounds too heavy, which is like 30% of her body weight, like she should be 120 and she's 160 kind of overweight. And now she's getting tinnitus, which is the ringing in the ears. And the recent thing she said, first it started as itching, and then it felt like ants crawling, and now it feels like there's some popping and hotness in that tissue on her leg. And I'm thinking, well, isn't that a wonderful thing? She's now experiencing neurological problems, right? That's her nerves going haywire. And each one of these pieces is a different aspect of the same thing, the dysregulation. The autonomic nervous system is stuck in the fight or flight. And why? And that always is, have you done this? And she said, well, no. When I go to a doctor, they try to offer me, they call that, what did she call it? SSRI. That's what she named it. Which is essentially they suggest to me that I'm crazy and that I should take psychotropic drugs.
Yeah, we have a fibromyalgia support group on Facebook with 153,000 people. And the vast majority of them say the same thing. They say, I go to see the doctor. He says, well, you're just crazy. It's all in your head. I talk to my family about how tired I am because they look normal, right? If they had a broken arm, like it would be, they'd get sympathy, but they don't. They don't. You can't see the bruise; it's all on the inside. And their families don't. They say you're lazy. Like get up and get to work. Like come on.
You know,
And
I suggest to people that they get a cane, even if they don't need it, and just start walking with a cane.
right,
It's just it's just going to give them the I don't know what you call it.
the
The
outward appearance of there's
Yeah,
something
there we
wrong.
go. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hmm. Anyway, yep.
Or get a bandage and just, one of those white and just wrap it around you.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think the cane is a good thing because it
It is a
kind
good
of
thing. And then
gives
lean
you.
over a little bit and uh,
Well, it's a wonderful tool.
yeah. Well, you have to have some way to show people that you're not right, right? There's
Yeah.
something wrong. And
Uh-huh.
that's
Yeah.
that's a really good way to do it. Oh my,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then anyway, this fatigue, right? She just talked about it. She says, I spend so much time just sitting around. I used to run a restaurant. I can't do that. I'm just physically incapable of doing it. And
Yeah.
I'm a fighter.
Yeah. So how do you break this fight or flight thing that we're stuck in? Because most of us think of fight or flight as the two things, but what you're saying is they're actually one of two other things. If I can put my hands in the right place, right? You've got fight and flight over here, and you have like rest and relax over here.
Yeah,
And you see that
exactly.
with the animals, like a cat, right? It'll
Yeah.
be laying around for like hours and hours, and the next thing you know, it's going after, and then it runs after a bird or a
Yeah,
mouse
whatever.
or
Yep.
something, right?
Yep.
And we should be doing that, but we're not. When we're should be resting like the cat, we may be laying there, but we're not resting like the cat. We're still like, I'm gotta, my
S-
body has got to go.
You're stewing, you're thinking, you're
Doing
fretting, you're in your head, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And I talked about that just minutes ago when I was describing is the challenge, the food challenge, making you calmer or more agitated?
right.
Everything that she's doing is keeping her agitated. So,
So Martin, is all of this just food?
no, no, of course not. Well, the four legs upon which illness will stand is toxicity, malnutrition, stagnation, and trauma. Those are the broad categories in which I would like to sort things out, just so we remember to do them.
Right.
Toxicity is stuff that will impede the normal expression of your cellular function. These will be things like heavy metals, industrial toxins, volatile organic compounds, forever chemicals like polyfluorated alkyl somethings, PFOAs. The I watched a really cool program about Teflon because
Oh yeah.
people have been throwing out Teflon cooking utensils thinking that they'll save themselves. Actually, once you make Teflon, it's inert. It's already solidified. It's the inputs from which the Teflon is made that are the problem. Something like this. Teflon is a polymer, and you will be taking uh, oh, I'll start even further back, just because this is a really cool thing. Essential fatty acid, something like medium chain triglyceride that you get out of coconut,
Yeah.
the good part of coconut oil, will have either 8 or 10 or 12, up to maybe 20 molecules of carbon that are in a string. And each carbon has two hydrogens attached to it. When you or if you replace those hydrogens with fluorine, you end up with these perfluorated chemicals. So it's a string of carbons, but with fluorines, not hydrogens. So it looks to the human body almost identical to the fatty acid, but it's got fluoride on it. fluorine.
Mm,
And
fluorine.
yeah, anyway, so Teflon, when it's all made, it's an infinitely long string of these carbons. Very, very long. They are polymerated into something long. But the input chemical is a C8, 8 carbons with fluorine on it. So it
Mm,
looks to your body like healthy fat,
right.
but it isn't.
It's
And it's
not.
a substitute, and it jumps in and it poisons the heck out of you. And
And that's
so,
why Teflon is bad.
well, that's why making of the Teflon has poisoned us. Teflon itself is inert. It's baked.
So I'm a bit confused. If it's the making of it and it's made in a factory, how does that affect me?
They have been letting it out. They have been putting it in rivers and creeks and waste dumps, and it's now everywhere. There is not
So
a
it's in the
person on the
environment.
Oh yeah, there's not a person on the planet who does not have these PFOAs in their circulation tissue. Yeah.
So the next question is, how do we get them out?
Oh well, I have this thing called the masterpiece. It's a zeolite. It's a binder. It binds them really well.
Okay.
Here's a bottle. I have it right here. I use it all the time. It's this colorless, beautifully simple liquid, and 5 drops, slightly salty, and it does wonders for the inner terrain. It takes out, by binding to it, all of the nasties, all the industrial age, not just the PFOAs. It also takes out the graphene oxide, which is a whole different story.
Right. So what man has made to poison his fellow man, nature, if I can put it that way, has created something that
Yeah.
will heal.
Yeah, absolutely. It is natural. It's called zeolite. It's clean up tillolite. It is born when a volcano is erupting under the ocean. It has to be under seawater. And then, of course, movement of the, what are they called? The flows?
Plates.
Plates. Yeah, that's what they're called. The tectonic plates. They move around and rise and fall and whatever. So there's zeolite to be found almost anywhere. Many,
Right.
many, many mines. Yeah. You
But-
want zeolite that's clean rather than dirty, but other than that, there's lots of it around.
Right. And you can get it at www.life-enthusiast.com. This is Duma. Say hi, Duma.
Hi.
And she's decided that she wants to sit on my lap because she's cold. We're in South Africa and it's June, which is winter, and the days are beautiful and the nights are cold.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about hydration, because I think that's another issue that people have. They think they're hydrated. They drink 2 gallons of water or whatever they say you're supposed to, and they're not really.
Yeah. Ha. Yeah. I just got interrupted by a fellow who's doing my accounting. Sorry about that. Business takes precedent. We have to do some important things. So, winter in South Africa.
And hydrating people. People think
Ah,
they're hydrated, but
well,
they're not.
I talked about stagnation in those 4 things, right? One of the antidotes to stagnation is movement, and the other is the transport. You have to have good, clean, structured, or actually unstructured water. Here's what happens with water. As you run water through round pipes, the water that's at the center is touching other water molecules, but the water that's near the walls is actually touching the walls of the pipe. and there's friction. And so the water molecules at the outer perimeter are moving slower than the middle. And so you're doing this. And I don't know if you've ever done this for a while. If you do that, you will build up static energy, like you will electricity. If you will actually feel the repulsive force. Well, anyway, so water molecules, when the static energy builds up, will start connecting with one another because the water molecule is polar. It has a plus and minus end, H and OH. It's elongated. Anyway, liquid crystals, latent liquid crystals, water molecules connecting to one another. And they're clustering. And a water molecule gets inside of your cell only in its unclustered state. So the higher the static buildup, the less you actually hydrate at the cellular level. Plants do it for you. They discharge it. So if you're drinking carrot juice or orange juice or celery juice that has been freshly taken out of a living plant, that's going to have properly structured water. Otherwise, you need to find some gadget with which you're going to structure the water. Here's an example of such. These are these ceramic blobs that I keep in my bottle. They are helping to discharge that static energy so that the water I drink is more hydrating, a better transporter of things into the cells and out of the cells.
And I think the other thing we need to talk about when it comes to water is bottled water. Water in plastic.
Well, Scott, my God. Okay, so there's this thing called phthalate. PHTHALTE, phthalate. That thing is used for softening or keeping soft and pliable the plastic bottles. It gets leached into the water when it goes into a higher temperature. Well, you're buying the bottle from a corner store where it's been chilled, so it feels cold. But on the way there, it was on a truck, on a pallet that sat somewhere in a parking lot in the sunshine for a long time.
Yeah.
It's cooked, it's boiled, it's got lots of phthalates in it, and BPA and BPH and who knows what else stuff. All of the things that are going to cause hormonal disruption and functional disruption and toxic burden. Ah, plastic bottles, such a convenience, unbreakable, right?
Yeah.
But
And
boy,
such a problem after, I mean, it's a problem before when you drink it and you get all the garbage that's in the water from the plastic, but then people throw it away and it gets swept out to sea, and all of a sudden you've
yeah,
got islands of
yeah,
plastic.
yeah, and that's the most horrible thing about it is that they float because they're lighter than water. Even broken, they still float, and then the waves, the action of the waves will smash them up against rocks or each other and keep on reducing them in size. That gets inside fish. Well, it actually gets inside everything.
Right.
Crustaceans that the fish eat, and big fish eat little fish, and the fish that we eat, blah, blah, blah. I'm told that my brain, as it is right now, contains enough plastic to make a teaspoon, a spoon with which I could eat a meal. Ugh.
So get a water filter,
Yep.
get
Oh yeah.
some precious pills,
Reverse osmosis pretty much required.
and some sort of container that doesn't have plastic,
Yeah, like glass.
glass.
Put up with the inconvenience of it.
Glass is really, really convenient in all ways except when you drop it.
Yeah,
And then it's the big problem.
and in transport because it's heavy.
Right.
And when we ship stuff, if it's in glass, we have to protect it with, I don't know,
Bubble
cardboard.
wrap.
or plastic.
Wow.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that's the issue of, national and transnational international commerce, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
how you have something, it's beautiful, but how do you get it halfway around the world without it being smushed?
Yep. It's a
And
problem. And so
it's a
plastic
problem.
is super convenient because it's not doesn't break easily. But it
And
poisons
you
you.
put it on the shelf and it'll stay on the shelf for months and months and months.
Yeah. But it poisons you when you consume it, and it poisons the planet when you dispose of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we could come up with a solution like hemp
Paper,
bottle. Yeah,
paper
probably.
bottle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about, well, tired, huh? There are
Tired.
things how you can be untired. We have something called Amazing Soak, which delivers huge amounts of oxygen, reactive oxygen species, and you can inhale it, you can swallow it, you can soak in it. Either way, whether it goes through your mouth or your nose or your skin, it will get inside you. And once it's inside you, it delivers oxygen to the mitochondria, and that will give you energy.
Because oxygen is one of the keys, right? I mean, that's the fuel that burns in our
Yeah,
cells.
it's the combustion, right? Glucose, oxygen, spark. Phew. So that's one. The other, MSM, methyl sulfonyl methane, bioavailable sulfur, is one such tool because MSM is helping the oxygen to cross the cell membrane. So it improves the permeability. It makes it possible for more oxygen to get in and toxins to get out. It's awesome. I remember this one gal in the fiber group that you mentioned. I suggested to her after she wrote that she's been in fatigue, I said, try MSM, but don't be afraid of it. You need to take 3 teaspoons a day,
Whoa, that's a lot.
which, well, it's bitter. So you're drinking bitter water. But heck, you've been dragging your ass around for years.
The question is, what are you willing to do to have health, right?
Yeah,
Like, like, because we're just been, oh, I'll have a donut, I'll have a chocolate bar, I'll have marshmallows, like, or what, we'll have all these sweets because
yeah.
they
And then
put off,
and yeah, and then I'll take Cymbalta to undo those consequences.
right.
Brr. Well, anyway, so she wrote on her third day, and she said, "Is that all it took? 20 years of chronic fatigue, and I have abundant energy on day three.
Yeah.
I'm done."
Yes, it is all it
Right?
takes. You got to put the right stuff in. We were talking the other day about if your body was a car, right? It's a Lamborghini. Well, you don't put diesel in a Lamborghini
No.
expecting it to run, right? So we put all this stuff in our body and we expect our body to run when no, you got to put the right stuff in.
Mm. Yeah.
And in our society, it's very, very difficult because every 4 to 6 weeks we have a festival where somebody creates this feast and it's full of stuff that's going to knock you back. So for 4 weeks you're doing really, really good. Come on over. We're having this Grey Cup party or Super Bowl party, or it's Thanksgiving and Easter. And then you come in and it's like, oh, look at all this. And we have been conditioned because we've been doing this for 20, 30, 50, 70, 90 years. And then we're back to square one.
And that's an interesting bit. For example, if you are gluten sensitive and you eat start grain like wheat stuff, it takes about 10 days to clear. So if you're doing Friday night pizza every Friday,
You never
you
clear.
can be on salad all you want. You will never know the day when you are free of it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about fasting, because I know a number of friends that have done a 1 day fast and then a 3 day fast, and it's just like, and they're just like raving about how good they feel.
Hmm. Especially people who are inflamed by food. Because when you stop eating food that makes you inflamed, you feel remarkably better. It's like,
Right.
Scott, visualize this. I have this torch, that I'm applying the
Yeah.
burning, 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 right? Torch on you all the time. And then I just say, okay, no torch.
Yeah. Oh, wow, this is nice.
This is nice, right? Oh,
Oh, but
God.
Mark, we're having a Easter dinner tomorrow. Come on over.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah, you just light yourself right up.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
So that's
there,
something to
there it
try
is.
too, right? Like, have just, you often say, if you have a problem, stop digging the hole.
Mm.
And if you've got a health problem, stop digging the hole. What does that mean? Well, stop eating and, you
Okay,
know,
so you threw in the fast, right? So intermittent fast, that means that you will have at least 16 hours of no food. And some people try to compress that window even smaller. So they will eat maybe a lunch at noon and a dinner at 6. So that's a 6 hour space in which they eat,
right,
and all the other hours they don't. So that's an experiment. Try 24 hours. So have a lunch and then don't eat anything until the next noon.
right.
So that's a 24-hour fast. The Bible, the Christians, that's what they advocated all along. 1 day a week, no food.
Yeah,
Somehow it got changed into just fish on Friday.
right. The Pope was helping the fishermen out. They were
Uh,
not doing good. So he said,
I don't
"Okay,
know.
everybody has to eat fish." That's the story I heard.
Okay. And then,
Everyone has to eat fish on Friday. The fishermen were happy.
yeah. And then you ended up with the four food groups.
Right.
Yeah. When they were developing that, it was not based on your health. It was based on a marketing board, and the
And
meat industry.
lobbyists.
The meat industry was present. The grain industry was present. The dairy industry was present, and the fruit and vegetable growers, they got the token corner
Right.
in there.
Yeah.
But in the base was eat your wholesome grains.
That's right.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, where that kind of came from was when we were in feast and famine modes, right? Where there would be droughts and you had the grain, it would last for years. So if you had a 7 year drought, you had these stores of grain that,
That's the main thing. Strategic reserves. It's
yeah,
really easy to do a strategic reserve with something that can last, right?
right.
If you're gonna try and do it with butter, you're gonna have to store it in a big freezer.
Yeah. Yeah. Or meat or any of those things. It's pretty hard,
Yeah.
particularly when you look back to 4,000 years ago when,
Yeah.
you
Before
know,
refrigeration, the only option you had was either dried or fermented.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we've come kind of to the end of our time together. Any last insights or
Well, I
comments?
mentioned the oxygen with Amazing O and with MSM. Uh, you want to make room for stuff. Get zeolite. Get zeolite to detox you. I mentioned it, but that's the thing. It's just phenomenal how much it will improve your world. And maybe combine it with some humic acid. Yeah, this one is awesome. Yeah, this one is called Masterpiece, and it's real good to have.
Yeah, and get some of the oxygen, the amazing soak. Get a pan, put some in, put your feet in, get your feet nice and warm. Yeah, You'll be, or put it in the bath. I think, when you were talking about that fight and flight and everything, like go run a hot bath, have a couple candles, don't have the fluorescent lights, put a little amazing soak in there, and
And for this one, throw in some magnesium too.
some magnesium, and that would really help.
Yeah, because magnesium is the mineral that takes you into the relaxed state.
And that's what we need to do. We're just living a very stressful society, environment, world.
Yeah. Too much,
And it's
too many inputs.
and it's not getting less. I mean, it just seems like they're revving up the
Well,
stress.
it's the fear button, right? Fight and flight is triggered by fear. And so when you are afraid that you'll miss out on something, I mean, the whole business of advertising, the whole business of getting your attention is triggering fears. You're going to be afraid that you're not going to be popular, or afraid that you're not going to live long enough, or afraid, whatever. Any fear, as long as they can trigger your fear response, you're cut off your frontal cortex and you go right back into the limbic system, and you respond from the reptilian instinct,
Right.
unthinking response. I will take two.
Yeah, and too much news.
Well, again, fear. What do they talk about? Who burnt what? Who rioted where? Who just died? Why did
Who
he die?
bombed who?
A bus fell off a cliff. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Accidents happen all the time.
Cool. All right, everybody. I put the links to the products that Martin mentioned into the comments. You should be able to see them there. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to eat to beat inflation, the power of anti-inflammatory foods. And we're going to keep harping on this until you have lots of energy and you feel like a new person.
Yeah, we'll be obnoxiously reminding you that you're living in sin.
There you go. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Martin, for taking time out of your busy day. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey.